20. How did the Great Compromise settle the debate between supporters of the Virginia Plan and supporters of the New Jersey Plan? A. By creating a bicameral Congress with proportional representation in the House of Representatives and equal representation in the Senate. B. By creating Congress with proportional representation in the House of Representatives and the Senate. C. By creating Congress with equal representatives in the House of Representatives and proportional representation in the Senate. D. By creating Congress with equal representation in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. Anti-Federalist Paper 71. In the original state of government, the whole power resides in the whole body of the nation. That when a people appoint certain persons to govern them, they delegate their whole power, that a constitution is not itself a Bill of Rights, and that whatever is the form of government, a Bill of Rights is essential to the security of the persons and property of the people. It is an idea favorable to the interests of mankind at large that government is founded in compact. 21. According to the excerpt from Anti-Federalist Paper 71, why did Anti-Federalists oppose ratification of the Constitution? A. They believed that Constitution did not protect the individual freedoms of American citizens. B. They believed that the Constitution took all power away from citizens of the United States. C. They believed that the Constitution did not allow for citizens to elect delegates to represent them. D. They believed that the Constitution did not provide for a strong national government. Number 22. How did Shay's rebellion impact the development of North Carolina and the United States? A. By leading many people to consider the need for a stronger national government. B. By convincing people to declare independence from England. C. By leading to a succession of several southern states. D. By persuading state governments to place stricter restrictions on slavery. This is a passage from the Mississippi Declaration of Secession, and then it is followed by 23. Our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery, the greatest material interest of the world. Its labor supplies the product which constitutes by far the largest and most important portions of commerce of the earth. These products are peculiar to the climate verging on the tropical regions, and by an imperious law of nature, none but the black race can bear exposure to the tropical sun. These products have become necessities of the world, and a blow at slavery is a blow at commerce and civilization. That blow has been long aimed at the institution and was at the point of reaching its consummation. There was no choice left us but submission to the mandates of abolition or dissolution of the Union, whose principles have been subverted to work out our ruin. A declaration for the immediate causes which induce and justify the secession of the state of Mississippi from the Federal Union, 1861. According to the document, why did leaders from Mississippi decide to secede from the Union in 1861? A. They desired to extend slavery into non-slaveholding areas. B. To end their connection with slavery. C. To prevent them slaves from escaping up north. D. They felt that ending slavery would damage their economy. 24 is a passage from Federalist 55. First, that so small a number of representatives will be unsafe depository of the public interest. Secondly, they will not possess a proper knowledge of local circumstances of their numerous constitutes. Thirdly, that they will be taken from that class of citizens which will sympathize least with the feelings of the mass of the people, and be most likely to aim at a permanent elevation of the few and the depression of many. Fourthly, that defective as the number will be in the first instance, it will be more disproportionate by the increase of the people and the obstacles which will prevent a corresponding increase of the representatives. 24, which statement reflects the historical context of this selection from the Federalist Papers, an era of territorial expansion. An area of territorial expansion. B, a conflict between the rich and the poor. C, a debate over the size of the legislative branch. D, a period of economic decline. 25 is a chart. I'm going to read down. The Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th Amendment, ends all forms of human slavery and involuntary servitude. The 14th Amendment guarantees that all people born or naturalized in the United States are citizens. The 15th Amendment ensures that all citizens have the right to vote regardless of their race. The Civil Rights Movement. Brown versus Board. Supreme Court decided that segregation was illegal in all public schools. Civil Rights Act of 1964 ended legalized segregation in Jim Crow laws. Voting Rights Act of 1965 ended any state law that kept a member of a minority group from voting. How are the constitutional amendments created during Reconstruction similar to laws created during the modern civil rights movement? This is 25. A, both increased the power of state governments. B, both helped end slavery. C, both helped end segregation. D, both helped to ensure the rights of all people. From the Native American Removal by Andrew Jackson. Surrounded by the whites with their arts of civilization, which by destroying the resources of savage doom him to weakness and decay, the fate of the Mohegan, the Narragansett, and the Delaware is fast overtaking the Choctaw, the Cherokee, and the Creek. That this fate surely awaits them if they remain within the limits of the states does not admit of a doubt. Humanity and national honor demand that every effort should be made to avert so great a calamity. President Andrew Jackson, 1829. According to this quote, why did Andrew Jackson decide to forcefully relocate Native Americans? A, to avoid enforcing American laws on certain tribes. B, to prevent Native Americans from being destroyed. C, to protect white Americans from Native American wars. D, to integrate Native Americans into American society. 27. What did the Ku Klux Klan and Black Coats have in common? A, they encouraged African Americans to vote. B, they added to the Constitution during the Reconstruction. C, they denied civil rights to African Americans. D, they banned segregation in public facilities. 28. What was the outcome of the Supreme Court decision in Dred Scott versus Sanford? A, Dred Scott was freed and slaves were issued full rights as citizens. B, the court ruled that slaves were not citizens and had no right to sue in the court of law. C, abolitionists viewed the decision as a victory because slavery was declared an immoral act. D, Dred Scott would be required to use segregated facilities. 29. Which of the following best describes Theodore Roosevelt's square deal during the progressive era? A, a plan to help the rich expand their wealth at the expense of the middle class. B, a plan to help middle class through conservative conservation, control, and consumer protection. C, a plan to increase social programs such as welfare for the lower class. D, a plan to dramatically increase the U.S. economy by growing the military. Number 30. What did Booker T. Washington believe was the first step for African Americans towards gaining equality? A, self-reliance through education. B, leaving the United States. C, fighting for the right to vote. D, fighting more violently. 31. What was one of the goals of the progressive movement? A, to regulate and control big business. B, to decrease the number of immigrants. C, to trade and build overseas empires. D, to establish monopolies and limit unions. 32. Which of the following were progressive era journalists who investigated corruption and fraud in American business and politics? A, muckrakers. B, yellow journalists. C, paper tigers. D, whistleblowers. 33. What two existing factors helped the development of the furniture industry of North Carolina? A, hardwood forests and willing labor force. B, railroads and factories. C, cotton and water power. D, factories and machinery. 34. When immigrants came to the United States, why did they often choose to settle in cities even if conditions were below standard? A, they were forced by the U.S. government to live in certain places. B, they all came from cities so they did not know any different. C, they rarely chose to settle in cities, choosing the country instead. D, they could find work more easily because of the number of factories. 35. What was the purpose of labor unions? A, to make sure that businesses made a profit. B, to enforce government regulation on businesses. C, to unite workers fighting for better working conditions. D, to recruit women and children into dangerous jobs. 36. Why did progressive reformers in the 1900s seek legislation to regulate working conditions and set minimum working age? A, Civil War casualties taking the jobs of adult workers. B, unions restricting membership to adult workers. C, industrialists using child labor to keep costs down. D, lack of job opportunities for children seeking after-school jobs. The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. There was never the least attention paid to what was cut up for sausage. There would come all the way back from Europe old sausage that had been rejected and that was moldy and white. It would be dosed with borax and glycerin and dumped into the hoppers and made over again for home consumption. There would be meat that had tumbled out on the floor, in the dirt and the sawdust, where the workers were tramped and spit uncounted billions of consumption germs. There would be meat stored in great piles in rooms, and the water of leaky roofs would drip over it, and thousands of rats would race upon it. It was too dark in these storage places to see well, but a man could run his hand over these piles of meat and sweep off handfuls of dry dung of rats. These rats were a nuisance, and the packers would put poisoned bread out for them. They would die, and then rats, bread, and meat would go into the hopper together. This is no fairy tale, no joke. There were things that went into the sausage in comparison with which a poisoned rat was a tidbit. Oh my goodness. Number 37. What was Upton Sinclair trying to accomplish by writing The Jungle? A, he wanted to show how the government responds to needs. B, he wanted to bring about social, economic, and political reforms. C, he wanted to describe the life of an immigrant in the city. D, he wanted to have robber barons thrown in jail for making people sick. Looking Backwards by Joseph Puck Magazine, January 11th, 1893. Go ahead and pause this and take a second to look at the political cartoon. Number 38 says, what statement is the artist making in the political cartoon Looking Backward? When you're ready, come back to answer. A, big business leaders were hypocrites because they were once immigrants themselves. B, immigrants had dreams of working hard and diversifying the United States. C, political leaders were willing to keep new immigrants out of the United States at all costs. D, letting new immigrants into the country would cause a shadow of crime on our nation. Use this political cartoon to answer the question. 39. What was the purpose of an assembly line? A, to produce the highest quality of goods. B, to make a job so simple that even a child could work. C, to provide more jobs in order to help the economy. D, to produce goods faster, cheaper, and in larger quantities. The 19th Amendment. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by a state on account of sex. Number 40. Which movement worked for the passage of the 19th Amendment? A, equal rights. B, women's suffrage. C, civil rights. D, social gospel. All right, guys, that is the end of your March interim. Good luck.